My name is Naomi Travers. I'm 29, and at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, my phone lit up with a sentence that tried to rearrange my life. We're moving in on Friday. Mom already agreed. Clean out the guest room. No question mark. No please. I read it twice, then again, like a riddle whose answer was supposed to be my compliance. We're moving in. As if my house were an unclaimed booth at a diner and my life the napkin dispenser. I scrolled up. The last text from Kayla, my younger sister, was 3 months ago when she borrowed my car and returned it with a new bumper dent and an empty tank that, apparently, I had manifested. Before that, 6 months earlier, she'd asked for emergency money for car repairs, then posted casino stories 48 hours later under a glitter filter that read luckiest girl alive. I called, ring, ring, voicemail. I called again, voicemail again. Third time, she picked up to a chorus of bass and laughter. Yo, what's up? She shouted like I'd interrupted her on stage. What is this text? I asked. What text? The one about moving in Friday. A beat. Then, oh, yeah, me and Brandon are coming for a few months. Mom said your guest room is just sitting there. It's family, Naomi. You're not going to say no. There it was. The word that used to work on me like a hypnotist's watch. Family. The guilt key that opened every door I paid for. When Dad needed a cosigner because his credit was shredded, family. When my sister needed free babysitting because she deserved a break, family. When Kayla wrecked her first car and wanted me to lie to insurance, family. Kayla, I said steady. I never talked to Mom about this. Well, she said she would, same thing. It's not the same thing? Mom doesn't live here, I do. Silence. Then righteous indignation. Are you seriously being like this? After everything? We just need like 3 months, 4 tops. Maybe 6 if Brandon's job thing takes longer. 3 to 6 months, I repeated, like a waitress reading back the order no one paid for. No. What's your problem? You live alone. You've got the space. I thought of the night I'd curled up in my hatchback at 23, ate instant oatmeal dry with a swig of water, and pretended the dashboard glow was a fireplace. My guest room wasn't empty. It was a monument. My desk. My second monitor. My neatly labeled file boxes, a room that said, I survived. I built this. I'm not running a halfway house, I said. Harsh. No, clear. I hung up. The phone lit up instantly. Mom, Kayla says you're being difficult. Don't be selfish. Dad, your mother is upset. Call her. Kayla, wow. I'll remember this when you need me. I turned the screen face down and listened to the quiet tick of the clock inside my ribs. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was awake, and awake people make plans. By 2 a.m. I had one. At 9:07 the next morning, I called the security company. Full perimeter, I said. Every door, every window, cameras, doorbell audio, motion sensors, battery backup. Planning a trip? The tech asked cheerfully. Preventative maintenance. That afternoon, a guy in his 40s who looked like he'd seen every kind of human mess installed a fortress. Front door, back door, garage, first floor windows, chimes and quiet red LEDs everywhere. I tested them like a kid with a new toy. Alert. Front door opened. Armed mode. Activated. Alert. Motion detected at entry. The doorbell's two-way audio was my favorite. It turned my threshold into a courtroom. Then I did something petty and perfect. I recorded a custom greeting. Hi. You've reached a private residence. If you don't have an appointment, please leave. Smile. You're on camera. Next call was to Derek, a property management friend who reads statutes like other people read horoscopes. Hypothetical, I said. If someone tries to move in without permission. That's trespassing, he said. If they have a key and weren't given one, that's breaking and entering. Do you want a cease and desist template on my letterhead? Draft it, I said. 2 copies. 1 for Kayla, 1 for my mother. He whistled. We're skipping the appetizer, huh? I'm full, I said. He laughed. Check your inbox tomorrow. I made coffee at midnight and didn't apologize to my heartbeat for racing. I was done with the old script, the one where the word family pressed on the softest parts of me until I bent. My house wasn't a group project. My peace wasn't community property. Thursday morning, Mom left a 3-minute voicemail that began with, I'm disappointed in you, and ended with, family is supposed to stick together. No mention of asking me. No mention of my mortgage. Just the tone of a queen whose command performance was refused. Delete. Kayla, You're making us homeless. I stared at the message like it was a prop in a badly written play. Homeless, while she live-posted from the apartment she currently inhabited. I didn't respond. Instead, I printed Derek's letter on the nicest paper I owned. To Kayla Morrison. To Linda Morrison. The bold line in the middle read like a gavel. Any attempt to enter, occupy, or claim residence at my address without express written permission constitutes trespassing under state law. This property is under video surveillance. All unauthorized entry will be recorded and reported. Friday morning, I set both envelopes by the door, armed the system, and, rather than drive to the office, camped at a coffee shop 3 blocks away with the Ring app open like a live broadcast. At 10:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Alert. Motion detected at front door. There they were. Kayla, hair in a high, messy bun, giant sunglasses, tight jaw. Brandon, 2 suitcases, and a performative sigh. A U-Haul squatted across my driveway like a yellow threat. Kayla pressed the doorbell. Hi, you've reached a private residence. My recorded voice chimed, calm as a lake. If you don't have an appointment, please leave. Smile, you're on camera. Kayla squinted straight into the lens. Naomi, she sang, sweet as a trap. Open up. I tapped 2-way audio. Kayla, you're not welcome here. Leave. Her smile fell off. Are you serious? We drove 3 hours. I told you no. You ignored me. That's trespassing. It's family, she snapped, the last match in a wet book. This is my home. 10 seconds to leave before I call the police. Wow, Brandon muttered, trying the handle. It didn't turn. He jiggled it harder. 10, I said. 9, 8. My phone pinged, a text from Mom. Let them in. Another from Dad. Be reasonable. 7, 6. Brandon started pounding on the door. Kayla's face went cherry red. 5, 4. Emotional abuse, she declared to the camera, as if a caption could change the footage. 3, 2. I tapped the alert. Siren. Strobe. The app slid a banner across the bottom like show credits. Alarm triggered. Police dispatched. I sat back in my chair at the coffee shop, took a long, slow sip, and watched my front step become a boundary line with teeth. Across the room, a couple glanced up at my little gasp of relief. I smiled at no one, at the clean edges of a plan working. In the reflection on my laptop screen, I saw my own face. Tired, yes, but steadier than I remembered. The kind of steady that holds when people push. My phone buzzed again, this time with a name that always softened me. Ethan. Ethan. Everything okay? Want me to swing by? I typed back, I'm good, thank you. I'll call you after. A pause. Ethan. Proud of you. My chest loosened. Somewhere in the foggy distance, I could almost hear the voice of a woman who used to apologize for taking up space. She was quiet now. The siren on my porch, meanwhile, was anything but. Blue lights slid across my screen as the patrol car pulled into my driveway. Kayla flinched. Brandon let go of the handle. The officers stepped out. The older one looked like he'd been through this exact scene 100 times, only with different last names. Ma'am, sir, step away from the door, he said. Kayla turned, her voice cracking on cue. Officer, my sister is locking us out. I closed the laptop, picked up my keys, and headed for home. This part I wanted to witness in person, not to humiliate them, to honor the old me who slept in a car and promised that if she ever had a door of her own, she'd know how and when to close it. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the street looked like a neighborhood parade that forgot its float. A U-Haul half-blocked the sidewalk. Kayla and Brandon were arguing beside it, and 2 police officers stood between them and my front door, where the alarm still blinked red like an unblinking eye. I parked across the street and stepped out calmly. Afternoon, I said. I'm the homeowner. The older officer turned. His face was neutral, practiced. You're Ms. Travers? That's right, Naomi Travers. System reported a possible break-in attempt. Everything under control now? Mostly. They were trying to move in. Kayla spun. We weren't breaking in. Mom said we could stay. You're making it sound crazy. I faced her squarely. It's trespassing, Kayla. You don't live here. Brandon crossed his arms, defensive. Man, we drove 3 hours. We didn't think you'd actually lock us out. I didn't lock you out, I said evenly. You were never invited in. The younger officer watched us like a tennis match. Ma'am, he said to me, do you want to press charges? Everyone froze. Even the birds went quiet. Kayla's mouth fell open. You're joking. I looked at her. The disbelief, the tantrum just under the skin, and I could almost see the 15-year-old version of her crying because she broke my necklace and I wouldn't let her borrow another one. I sighed. Not today, but if they come back, I will. The older officer nodded. That's fair. Folks, you need to leave now. Don't come back to this property without permission from the owner. Kayla's voice broke. You're really doing this? Yes, I said. I really am. Brandon muttered something about ungrateful sisters and stomped back to the truck. Kayla hesitated a second longer, maybe waiting for me to flinch. I didn't. The moment she saw she'd lost her audience, she followed him. As they drove off, the older officer handed me a card. If they come back, call us directly. Family or not, boundaries matter. Those last words lingered. Boundaries matter. They sounded like something my therapist used to say when I was still trying to justify other people's chaos. When they left, the neighborhood went still again. Only Mrs. Chen, my retired teacher neighbor, was peeking from behind her curtain. I raised a hand. She nodded back, lips pursed with the sympathy of someone who's raised teenagers. I turned off the alarm and stepped inside. My house smelled like lavender cleaner and safety. For about 5 seconds. Then my phone started vibrating. 3 calls, 4 texts, 5 notifications. Mom, Kayla said you called the cops. She's in tears. How could you? Dad, your mother's upset. Call her before you regret this. Kayla, enjoy your little fortress. You'll be alone in it. I muted the thread and went to make coffee. I didn't owe them another explanation. Still, when the doorbell chimed again an hour later, I flinched. I checked the camera feed. Not Kayla. Mom. Church clothes, hair pinned back tight, holding a casserole dish like a white flag. I hit the audio. Mom, now's not a good time. Her eyes went wide. You can see me? I can, yes, you're on camera. Naomi, let me in. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Kayla tried to force entry. She was just trying to move in like I told her she could. That's the problem. You don't get to make that decision. Her jaw tensed. I'm your mother. I know. Then open this door. No. It was the quietest no I'd ever said, and somehow it hit her harder than if I'd shouted. Her face crumpled like paper. Excuse me? I said no. You don't have permission to be here. Please leave. I'm not leaving until we talk about this. I sighed, tapped the app. The siren chime filled the porch. Mom jumped back. What is that? The alarm that goes off if you don't leave. You wouldn't. I just called the cops on Kayla, I said softly. Try me. She stood there holding the casserole, her expression wobbling between disbelief, fury, and wounded pride. What happened to you? She whispered. You used to be such a good girl. Translation, obedient, compliant, easy to guilt. I grew up, I said. Now please leave. She slammed the dish down on the porch, the lid clattering. Fine, but don't come crying to me when you need something. I won't. She stomped back to her car, the casserole still steaming in the cold air. I let it sit there for an hour before I dumped it, still sealed, into the trash. The smell of cheese and resentment followed me inside. That night, I poured a glass of wine, texted Ethan a short, all handled, and curled on the couch. The house was silent, my phone muted, my lock solid. For the first time in years, I felt something strange but familiar. Peace without permission. The next morning, I woke to 27 notifications. Texts, voicemails, Facebook tags, Instagram DMs. Aunt Carol, praying for you and Kayla. Cousin Jennifer, wow. Calling the police on your own sister? Cold. Uncle Rob, your mom's devastated. Grandma, what's going on? Your mother won't stop crying. I scrolled through them all and archived everything. No replies, no explanations. They'd chosen their side without ever hearing mine. They always did. Around noon, the doorbell rang again. Camera feed. Kayla wasn't alone this time. She'd brought Mom, Dad, Aunt Carol, and a woman in a blazer holding a clipboard. I felt my stomach drop. Kayla waved toward the camera. We're not leaving until you talk to us. Mom added, you can't just shut family out. Then Dad stepped forward. Naomi, this has gone too far. We brought a mediator. A mediator. The clipboard woman smiled professionally into my doorbell camera. Hi there, I'm Nancy. I understand there's been some conflict. I'm here to facilitate a productive conversation. I didn't agree to mediation, I said flatly. Nancy's smile didn't waver. That's exactly the kind of communication breakdown we can address. There's no breakdown. I said no. They ignored me. End of story. Mom's voice trembled. Please, honey, just 10 minutes. 10 seconds, I said, to leave. Kayla's face twisted. You're being ridiculous. All this over a stupid room. It's not about the room, I said. It's about respect, something you've never given me. Dad raised his hands like he could smooth the air itself. Everyone calm down. This is why we need to talk face to face. We're not doing this. I took a breath. 10, 9. Mom started crying, a practiced wail that used to undo me. 8, 7. Dad's face hardened. You're making a mistake. 6, 5. Kayla's voice rose. This is insane! 4, 3. I held my phone to my ear. 911, what's your emergency? Nancy's smile faltered. Miss Travers, there's no need for... I have multiple trespassers on my property, I told the dispatcher. They were warned not to return. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Nancy backed up first. I think I should go. Good idea. She nearly jogged to her car. Aunt Carol grabbed Mom's arm. Linda, come on. Mom shook her off. He's bluffing. Dad's voice was tight. He's not bluffing. Look at her. The red and blue lights turned the scene into a theater of bad decisions. Dad grabbed Kayla's shoulder. Let's go. They scattered just as the patrol car rolled up. Same officers. The older one gave me a knowing look. Back again? They brought a mediator this time, I said. He blinked. A what? A family counselor, uninvited. He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. You want that restraining order now? I looked at the shrinking taillights, my front lawn littered with footprints, and nodded. Yeah, I do. Smart move, he said. We'll send over the paperwork. File Monday. When they drove away, I stood in the doorway, casserole stains still on the porch, and felt something new, a calm so clean it almost frightened me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't negotiating my boundaries. I was enforcing them, and for once, they were the ones scrambling. Monday morning, I was at the courthouse by 8:30, folder in hand. Security footage, texts, voicemail transcriptions, even screenshots of Kayla's posts complaining about her cold-hearted sister. The clerk barely looked up. Filing a restraining order? Yes, I said. She slid the forms toward me. Temporary order takes effect today. Hearings in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 14 days for my family to realize boundaries weren't suggestions. By noon, I had confirmation. They'd been served. Derek texted, Your mom cried. Your dad threatened to sue. Kayla asked if it counts if she messages you on Instagram. I didn't even reply. For 2 whole days, it was quiet. No knocks, no drive-bys, just the gentle hum of silence and my own breath. I almost believed it was over, until Wednesday night. It started with a flicker. Every light in my living room went dark. Then the hum of the fridge cut off, followed by the air conditioner's sigh. The whole house went silent. I grabbed my phone. Battery, 67%. App feed, black. The cameras were offline. The power box. I slipped on my jacket, flashlight in hand, heart hammering, and stepped into the night. The air smelled like rain and static. The metal latch on the breaker box hung twisted, the lock cut clean through. Someone had flipped the switches off, every single one. My throat tightened. They wanted to remind me I wasn't untouchable. I flipped them back on. The house whirred to life again, lights blinking in sequence like a heartbeat restarting. Then I called the police. Same officers as before. The older one squatted near the box, shining his flashlight. This was deliberate, he said. Tool marks, locks broken clean. You said there's an active restraining order? Yes. Then this counts as a violation. I didn't get them on camera. They cut the power first. He stood. Smart of them. You'll want battery backup for those cameras and a stronger lock. You've got a target now. He wasn't wrong. After they left, I locked every window and sat on the couch with my phone in my lap. Notifications from Ethan blinked on the screen. Hey, you okay? Power's out at your place. Want me to come over? I stared at his name. He'd offered to stay before, and I'd said no, afraid it'd feel like weakness. Now I realized it would have been comfort. Still, I texted back. I'm fine. Promise. Just a little tired of the circus. He replied almost instantly. You don't deserve this. Call me if anything feels off. That night, I didn't sleep. I just listened to the hum of the fridge and thought about how quiet revenge could sound when it wore a familiar face. By morning, I had ordered everything the officer mentioned. Battery backups, a heavier lock for the breaker, and interior cameras for the living room and hallway. At 5:47 a.m. the next day, my doorbell rang. The sound jolted through the house like an alarm clock from hell. I pulled up the feed. Kayla, standing on my porch, holding a cardboard sign that read, Sister locked me out. Please help. She was live streaming. I could see the little red circle on her phone screen and the scrolling comments. What a monster. Family shouldn't treat each other like that. Girl, go viral. I felt the world tilt sideways. She wasn't here to talk. She was here to perform. I tapped the audio. Kayla, leave, now. She looked up, smiling directly into the camera. See, everyone? She won't even talk to me. She's emotionally freezing me out. It's 65 degrees, I said. You're violating a restraining order. Leave before I call the cops. She turned to her phone. See how controlling she is? She's calling the police again. Okay, I said calmly. Let's give them a show. I dialed 911 while she was still streaming. The operator recognized my address. Trespasser again? Yes, same one. Active order in place. I looked back at the camera feed. Kayla's fake confidence melted as the siren started echoing faintly down the street. Her face drained of color. Wait, Naomi, come on! She stammered, then grabbed her phone and ran to her car. I saved the footage immediately and emailed it to Derek. She just handed me evidence, I wrote. He replied within minutes. That makes your restraining order ironclad. For once, I smiled without guilt. By Friday, things had gone too far to call coincidence. Derek sent me a screenshot from the Morrison family group chat. Mom, we need to get into that house. Find something we can use. Dad, the lawyer said we need proof she's unstable. Kayla, what if we just go in when she's not home? Aunt Carol, that's breaking and entering. Kayla, not if Mom has a key. Mom, I don't have a key. Kayla, then can we make one? I read it 3 times, my pulse getting louder each time. They were planning an actual break-in. I forwarded the entire thread to the police and to Derek, added it to my evidence folder, and ordered 2 more interior cameras. If they came in, I wanted every breath, every step, every word recorded. 2 nights later, Ethan called. I saw Kayla's live stream. It popped up on my feed. My stomach dropped. Oh God, what are people saying? Half the comments are calling you heartless. The other half are calling her manipulative, but that's not what worries me. What then? Sabrina shared it. The name hit like ice water. Ethan's ex, the kind who liked stirring smoke even after the fire was gone. She captioned it, "Some people love being victims of their own ego." I closed my eyes. Of course she did. I blocked her, he said. But Naomi, you're trending locally. Fantastic, I muttered. All I wanted was peace, and maybe a Saturday without someone filming my front door. Ethan hesitated. I'm serious. Be careful. People love drama until it gets real. Too late, I said quietly. That weekend, I spent every hour tightening my world. New passwords, offline backups, cameras synced to a secure cloud. I even printed physical photos of the evidence, because people like my family didn't just cross lines. They redrew them when convenient. For the first time in my life, I felt prepared. Not paranoid, not scared, prepared. But beneath the calm, a single thought whispered through the night. If my own mother could cut my power to make a point, what would she do next? The following week was so quiet it felt unnatural, like the still air before a thunderstorm. No knocks, no calls, no cars idling outside. Just silence thick enough to make me wonder if they'd finally given up, or were simply waiting for me to relax. I didn't. Instead, I turned that silence into a strategy. Every morning before work, I synced my phone, uploaded camera footage, and labeled every file by date and time. The folder on my desktop, Morrison Incident Log, grew heavier each day. Police reports, screenshots of screenshots, even copies of my mother's posts where she called me a prideful, lost daughter. Derek called that Thursday night. You're basically a lawyer's dream client, he said. Everything's time-stamped. Good, I said. I'm done letting them twist stories. He paused. Just be careful online. Your sister's still stirring things. He wasn't exaggerating. When I checked Facebook, Kayla had posted a grainy screenshot from the live stream, writing, My sister Naomi locked me out of my childhood home and called the cops. Family means nothing to some people. The irony wasn't lost on me. The house she claimed was our childhood home had never even existed when we were kids. I bought it myself. Below, Sabrina Lee had commented, I always said Naomi liked control. Guess she proved it. A dagger made of words. Not because it was true, but because it was public. I closed the app and whispered to no one, they want me angry. I refused to give them that satisfaction. 2 days later, the restraining order hearing reminder came in the mail. 1 week away. 7 days until I could finally breathe without wondering which relative was plotting next. But Sunday morning, something else arrived first. A courier envelope hand-delivered, no return address. Inside, printed screenshots, my text messages to Ethan, cropped to look like I'd been mocking my family. They'll explode if I say no. It's fun watching them panic. Except I'd never written that second line. Someone had edited them. My throat closed. They're faking messages now. Ethan answered my call on the first ring. Naomi? They're trying to frame me as unstable. Someone sent doctored screenshots. He exhaled sharply. I know. Sabrina reposted them this morning. Of course she had. I'll handle it, he said firmly. I'll tell everyone they're fake. No, I said, surprising both of us. Don't engage. That's what they want. But Naomi? I'm going to let the evidence speak for itself. It wasn't just resolve in my voice. It was exhaustion. The kind that comes when you realize vindication won't feel like victory. It'll just feel like quiet. Wednesday morning, 4:12 a.m. My phone buzzed. Ring alert. Motion detected in living room. My pulse slammed into my throat. I opened the app and froze. There was someone inside my house. A man's silhouette moved across the frame, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. He stepped closer to the camera, looked straight at it, and whispered, "You shouldn't have done this." Dad. He turned, grabbed something from the counter, my spare keys, and disappeared toward the back door. The feed cut off as he left. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I called 911. The dispatcher recognized my voice immediately. Within minutes, patrol lights washed through my windows. Officers swept the house. No one inside. The kitchen drawer was open. My backup keys were gone. The older officer looked grim. "You're lucky for those cameras. We've got his face clear as day. That's breaking and entering under a restraining order. He's going to jail." I just nodded. I didn't have words. Somewhere deep down, I'd known it would come to this. The escalation, the desperate act meant to teach me a lesson. Before they left, the officer said, "You'll need to testify about this in the hearing. Bring the footage." "I will." He gave me a faint smile. "You're tougher than you look." When the door closed behind him, I collapsed onto the couch. I didn't cry. I just stared at the camera feed still looping the moment my father's face appeared. The next day, the ripple began. Mom posted a long Facebook message. "Parents make mistakes when they're pushed too far. Please pray for understanding." Kayla reposted it with crying emojis. "Aunt Carol, we don't know what Naomi's going through, but she needs forgiveness. Grandma, family should heal, not punish." It would have been almost impressive, the way they rewrote reality, if it hadn't been my life they were using for material. I added every post to my growing evidence folder, every comment, every timestamp. Receipts weren't revenge, they were insurance. 2 days before the hearing, Derek called again. "Your dad's been processed," he said. "Police took his statement. He claims he thought you were in danger." I laughed once, a sharp sound. "He broke in to save me?" "Yeah, convenient, right?" I rubbed my eyes. He took my spare keys. "That's theft on top of trespassing. The judge is going to love that." He paused. "Naomi, after this you need distance. Maybe go away for a bit. Chicago, maybe? Your company has that project up there." He was right, but part of me refused to leave my own house again. I'd built this space from nothing. Why should I be the one who had to run? Still, I promised him I'd consider it. That night, as rain lashed against the windows, I sat in the darkened living room and whispered the closing line of my own case file aloud. They thought boundaries were invitations, but they were warnings. The folder on my coffee table glowed under the lamp, my entire story, printed and numbered. When the hearing came, I wouldn't need to yell. I'd simply show them what they'd done. And this time no one could rewrite the ending. The courthouse smelled faintly of paper and nerves. Thursday, 8:30 a.m. I sat in the hallway with my folder balanced on my knees, evidence neatly tabbed, labels precise, break-in footage, police reports, doctored screenshots, social posts. 2 weeks of waiting had stretched like years, but now the waiting was over. At 8:50, they arrived. Mom, Dad, Kayla, and a lawyer I didn't recognize. Short tie, cheaper suit, holding a stack of papers he clearly hadn't read yet. Kayla's eyes found mine across the hallway, cold, accusing. Mom looked like she hadn't slept, but her expression wasn't remorse. It was insult. Dad just looked tired. The bailiff opened the door. Travers versus Morrison family, case 4829A. We filed in. Judge Martinez presided. 50s, sharp eyes, the kind of woman who'd seen every flavor of drama and lost her appetite for all of it. She adjusted her glasses. "Ms. Travers, you're requesting to make your temporary restraining order permanent. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." Respondents? Their lawyer rose. Yes, Your Honor. The Morrison family is here to contest the order. They wish to pursue reconciliation through counseling and family mediation. This entire situation, while unfortunate, stems from misunderstanding and emotional stress. Judge Martinez nodded once. And the breaking and entering incident? Purely accidental, Your Honor, he said quickly. Mr. Morrison believed his daughter was in distress. The judge cut him off. At 4:12 a.m.? The lawyer blinked. He was concerned. Concerned enough to disable security and remove property from her home? He didn't answer. Let's see the evidence, she said, gesturing to me. I stood, walked to the bench, and handed the bailiff my folder. Inside it was everything. The live footage of my father inside the house, Kayla's live stream, the group chat screenshots, Mom's posts, even the fabricated texts Sabrina had circulated. The judge flipped through, page by page. Her expression didn't change, but the silence in the courtroom thickened like fog. Finally, she looked up. Miss Morrison, she said to my mother, did you tell your daughter she could move into Ms. Travers' home? Mom sat up straighter. I did, yes. It's family. She had room. Did Ms. Travers agree to that arrangement? Well, no, but shh. Then it wasn't your decision to make. The judge's gaze shifted to Dad. Mr. Morrison, you were recorded entering your daughter's property in violation of an active restraining order. Do you understand the seriousness of that? Dad opened his mouth, closed it, then muttered, I was trying to help. Help her by breaking into her house? Silence. Judge Martinez turned to Kayla. And Ms. Morrison, your live stream, were you aware that it violated the same restraining order? Kayla's voice was sharp. I just wanted people to see the truth. The judge raised an eyebrow. The truth that you were trespassing? Kayla's mouth shut so fast it was audible. After another long pause, the judge looked back at me. Ms. Travers, anything to add? I took a deep breath. My voice didn't shake. I've spent years being told that boundaries were unkind, that saying no meant I didn't care about my family. But all I've ever wanted was peace. In my own home, on my own terms. They didn't listen until I had to make them. The judge nodded slowly. Understood. She set the folder down and folded her hands. I'm granting the permanent restraining order. All respondents must remain at least 500 feet from Ms. Travers, her home, and her workplace. No contact of any kind, direct, indirect, or via third parties. Violation will result in arrest and contempt charges. Mom gasped. That's our daughter. You're saying we can't even speak to her? Judge Martinez met her eyes without blinking. No, Mrs. Morrison. I'm saying you repeatedly violated her autonomy, trespassed, vandalized her property, and harassed her online. Family doesn't place you above the law. The gavel hit the block with a sharp crack. Order is permanent. This hearing is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, the sunlight felt too bright, almost unreal. They filed out behind me, Mom crying quietly, Dad avoiding eye contact, Kayla glaring like I'd stolen something sacred. When Mom tried to step toward me, the bailiff's voice cut through the air. Ma'am, the order is in effect immediately. She froze. Her tears turned to ice. I hope you're happy, Naomi, she said. I didn't respond. Happiness wasn't the point. Peace was. When I reached the parking lot, Derek was leaning against my car, 2 coffees in hand. How'd it go? He asked. Permanent order, 500 feet. He grinned. Congratulations, that's a win. It doesn't feel like one, I admitted. He shrugged. Freedom never feels like revenge, Naomi. It just feels quiet. That's how you know it's real. 3 months later. My house looked the same, but it felt different. Calm, lighter somehow. The cameras were still installed, but I rarely checked them. The alarm stayed armed out of habit, not fear. One afternoon, I opened my mail to find an envelope addressed in familiar handwriting. Amanda, my older sister. Inside was a photo, her family at Thanksgiving, smiling around a long table. On the back, she'd written, You were right. Boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. Love you, always. I pinned it to the fridge, next to Mrs. Chen's dumpling recipe, a postcard from Derek's trip to Mexico, and a photo of Ethan and me at his company barbecue, the people who'd stayed. The people who didn't need to trespass to prove they cared. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. Dinner Sunday. Pot stickers again. I smiled. I'll be there. As I locked up that night, I glanced at the small light on my security panel. Solid green. The house hummed softly around me, alive but undisturbed. I realized then, the alarms weren't just to keep people out anymore. They were a reminder that I could keep myself safe, that I had the right to decide who entered and who didn't. And for the first time, that green light didn't feel like a warning. It felt like home.